Hello, it's me, Sarah, and tonight I want to talk with you about being weird, being crazy, and just pretty much being okay with being yourself and some of the insecurities that people have and why people are kind of afraid to be themselves. Now, the reason that I'm bringing up this topic in particular is because a day ago or a couple of days ago when I put up my video BTS rant, all of the older people on the Bobby Darin Yahoo groups, which I've been part of for 4 years, saw the video and they very strongly disagree with the film Beyond the Sea. I mean, none of them love it like I do. Let's just put it that way. And they saw the video and they were greatly offended. They said that I used, this isn't speaking for the entire group, this is just a couple of people in the group. They said that my language in it was inflammatory, that it was offensive because I called their opinions stupid and I called them retards. And there probably was a more respectful way I could have handled making that video, and I will admit that. There were also a few inaccuracies and things in the video that they pointed out to me that were incorrect, and I probably should have studied up more on it before I made the video, but I'm admitting it now that it wasn't completely correct, and I'm admitting that it had faults, okay? And what started out on the group as a heated discussion quickly became what I felt like was a personal attack on me, and only by a couple of people. And what really, really upset me was that of all those people on that group, all, 50 of them that I know, I've known them for 4 years, and only one of them actually agreed with me and stood up for me. And that sort of thing happens to me all of the time. I have had a past history of people just not accepting me for who I am, or making snap judgments on me from the get-go and just assuming that I'm crazy. And it all started when I was about 10 years old at churches. And that's the one place that you really shouldn't be judged for who you are. But unfortunately, that's where a lot of it started. And the church I was going to before this church that my dad pastors now is where I got most of it. And there was so much mental abuse from everyone, and particularly the pastor there. And, when your main enemy is the pastor there, the entire congregation just doesn't like you. They would make jokes, well, I thought they were jokes, about me going to see a psychiatrist and stuff. And then I found out that they were actually serious. And the reason why I was judged the most? My weight, and the fact that I love Bobby Darin, because they thought I was a little bit too obsessed with him. Actually, a lot too obsessed with him. And they also thought that I had an eating disorder, which is why I'm so funny about people saying that I'm too skinny or that I need to eat more. Because at church picnics and dinners, everyone would sort of look at me and watch me eat, and if I didn't eat everything on my plate, they would assume all sorts of things, like that I was bulimic or anorexic, and they would constantly tell me to eat more and that I was too skinny, and it just made me feel really ugly. They actually called my dad about it and asked if I did have an eating disorder, and even after Dad said no, I was still scrutinized for it. So I've had a constant history of not being accepted for who I am, and I have cared too much. And I know that a lot of people care too much about what other people think of them. I don't fit in with the teenage group because they don't understand me. The things that I like, we just don't have anything in common. I have an autographed picture of Andy Williams hanging on my ceiling. And I told all of my friends, I had an autographed picture of Andy Williams, woo! And they're like, who is that? And I thought that I could identify best with older people, especially Bobby Darin fans, but it turns out that I can't even identify with them. And I've known them for 4 years, and these problems that I've had with this group of people started from the very beginning when I joined the groups, because I got kicked off 2 Bobby groups for being too enthused about Bobby Darin's cuteness. And I will admit that some of the things I was posting on the group, they weren't risky, they were just stupid and annoying. And I read them now and I think, oh my gosh, I would never post anything so retarded and irritating ever again, and I can't believe some of the stupid things that I said. So they had every, right to be a little annoyed. I thought it was a little to the extreme that they kicked me off, but I rejoined a couple months later to see what they said about me after they kicked me off. And people who said that they were my friends turned around and talked bad about me behind my back. And recently, not extremely recently, but recently enough, I joined another Bobby Darin group and was kicked off because I was not old enough to join this particular group, because apparently you have to be a certain age to talk about Bobby Darin's politics and his sex life. And I wasn't old enough, so I was kicked off and I rejoined again under a different name. And the moderator of the group said that her absolute worst nightmare was for me to join the group. And then everyone else chimed in and said, well, I just ignore her posts because they make me really uncomfortable and I don't like her. Really, really hurtful when you're just judged like that. I mean, from the get-go, they just assumed that I was nuts and that I was crazy and that I'm weird, and hello, I am. I mean, do I look like a Bobby Darin fan to you? Do I look like the type of person who would be sitting there snapping like this and singing to Mac the Knife? No, I don't. Like sometimes I dress like this. I have a poodle skirt in my closet and Bobby socks and old 50s shoes that I wear sometimes. I mean, it's like sometimes this is how I dress, and sometimes I dress like I'm from the 50s. It's like that's the way that I am. It's like I can sit on the internet and I can rock out to Evanescence and then go straight out of my room, go downstairs, put in a Cary Grant movie, and just watch a marathon of Cary Grant and be like, wow, Cary Grant is awesome. And like nobody knows who that is unless they're really old. And I mean, I'm weird. I wake up in the morning and sometimes I'll talk to myself in a black voice for 20 minutes. And I talk to myself all the time. I have conversations with myself about what I'm going to do today. And like the other day, I sat for 5 minutes and looked back at this record and smiled at it for no apparent reason at all. I just looked back at it and I was like, Bobby's smiling at me, so I'm going to smile at him. And I smiled for like 5 minutes, and then I got kind of creeped out, so I flipped the album over. Because it was like he was watching me. But, I'm weird. I'm crazy. My opinions are always so different from everybody else's. Like, my feelings about getting a job and raising kids and having kids and getting married. It's like all my opinions are so odd and they're so out there and they're so different, and people just don't understand. That's the way that I am. I am psychotic and I am crazy, but that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. And I have met some of the most insecure people in the world who are just, who think they're just flat out weird. And they're my best friends. I like people who unleash their weirdness. I mean, everybody's weird. You can't lie. Everybody has got some weird little thing that they think that they would never want to tell anyone because everyone would judge them. The only difference with me is I'm just weird, okay? I just let my weirdness come out. I let it all hang out. And the people that I am best friends with are, what people would consider strange too. But they are awesome. They're like amazing, kind-hearted, great people who are judged all too quickly by maybe the way that they speak or their opinions about something or the way that they dress. And I'm really, really, really tired of seeing people getting judged for just being themselves.